Whispers of Shadows, In the Heart of Darkness, by Reuben White. The air in Crestwood hung heavy with the secrets of its residents, and Mrs. Archer was no stranger to the town's judgmental whispers. Her once friendly neighbors had grown distant, their smiles replaced by furtive glances and hushed conversations. Mrs. Archer's life had become a tapestry of complaints and intrusive meddling, unraveling the threads of trust that once bound her to the community. One gloomy evening, as Mrs. Archer trudged home from the supermarket, burdened not only by groceries but also the weight of her own solitude, fate beckoned her into the shadows of an alleyway. Unseen eyes observed the scene, and an unspoken tension crackled in the air. Two indistinct figures argued vehemently, their voices carrying the weight of unspoken grievances. Intrigued and compelled by an invisible force, Mrs. Archer veered towards the alley, finding refuge behind a grimy public garbage dumpster. The darkness cloaked her as a silent witness to a crime that would shatter the fragile peace of Crestwood. A sudden eruption of violence sent shockwaves through her, freezing her in place as one man's furious blow silenced the other. A can slipped from Mrs. Archer's trembling hands, clattering to the ground like a metallic echo in the silence. The assailant, a specter in the night, turned towards the source of the disturbance. "Who's there?" he bellowed, his eyes scanning the darkness. Panic etched deep lines on his face as he fled into the obscurity, leaving Mrs. Archer alone with the lifeless victim and the haunting echoes of her own fear. Desperation clawed at Mrs. Archer's chest, compelling her to run, to scream, to escape the web of shadows closing around her. But a fierce determination replaced her fear. She had seen the unspeakable, and justice demanded a voice. Racing home, her breaths mingling with the chill in the air, Mrs. Archer sought to expose the truth that now clung to her like a sinister shadow. Word spread like wildfire as she recounted the gruesome tale to friends, family, and the local authorities. However, Crestwood's skepticism cast a long shadow over her words. The town, steeped in the bitterness of Mrs. Archer's past transgressions, refused to believe the woman who had cried wolf one too many times. Each attempt to raise an alarm fell on deaf ears, the echoes of her credibility lost in the town's collective disbelief. Haunted by the isolation that enveloped her, Mrs. Archer resolved to navigate the murky waters of deception alone. Armed only with her conviction and the chilling memory of the crime, she embarked on a solitary quest for justice. The town's cobblestone streets became a labyrinth of suspicion and danger, with every corner harboring the potential revelation of the truth. As she delved deeper into the shadows, Mrs. Archer encountered the enigmatic figures of Crestwood's underworld. Each revelation was a puzzle piece, fitting into a mosaic of corruption, deceit, and concealed motives. Metaphorical webs entangled her, mirroring the intricate patterns of lies that wove through the fabric of Crestwood's seemingly idyllic existence. The protagonist became a reluctant detective in a town that preferred to bury its secrets. Clues emerged like whispers, and each step forward was met with a step backward as the shadows tightened their grip. Mrs. Archer, once an outcast, now stood as the lone beacon of truth in a sea of deception. The external conflict escalated as Mrs. Archer faced not only the inherent dangers of her investigation, but also the relentless skepticism of those she sought to protect. The web of mistrust expanded beyond the alleyway, ensnaring her in a psychological struggle against the town's collective disbelief. The setting transformed from the mundane to the malevolent, the quaint charm of Crestwood replaced by an eerie ambience. The once familiar streets now echoed with the whispers of secrets, and every shadow held the potential for revelation or danger. The town itself became an antagonist, an entity determined to silence the truth and preserve its facade of normalcy. Internal conflict raged within Mrs. Archer as she battled not only the external forces, but also the ghosts of her own past. Each false alarm she had raised echoed in her mind, a cacophony of doubt that threatened to drown out the urgency of the present. The journey became a psychological thriller, with Mrs. Archer confronting her own demons while unraveling the mysteries that surrounded her. Figurative language painted the narrative with shades of suspense. The shadows that concealed the truth were not just physical, but metaphoric, representing the layers of deceit that clung to Crestwood. The town's heartbeat became a metaphorical drum, its rhythm guiding Mrs. Archer through a symphony of danger and revelation. As Mrs. Archer neared the heart of the mystery, the tension reached a fever pitch. The climax unfolded in the labyrinthine depths of Crestwood, where truth and deception collided in a final showdown. The resolution brought with it a chilling revelation, laying bare the darkness that lurked beneath the town's serene surface. In the aftermath, Mrs. Archer stood as a survivor, her journey a testament to the resilience of truth in the face of overwhelming skepticism. The whispers of shadows faded, replaced by a silence that spoke volumes about the price of revelation in a town built on lies. Whispers of Shadows left its indelible mark on Crestwood, a town forever changed by the reluctant heroism of a woman who defied her own shadows to expose the truth. The narrative lingered in the reader's mind, a haunting exploration of the thin line between truth and perception, and the harrowing consequences of a life filled with false alarms. If you are enjoying the Mystery Within channel, feel free to hit the subscribe, follow, or like buttons for future posts and updates.